Hi, it's your PsychoBuddy. Psych wards are not as scary as Hollywood likes to make them. Maybe they were. I think some of them definitely used to be, but they really aren't now. Um, more like holding tanks for very interesting people, of which, if you think you might, if you're considering hospitalization or you're just curious about what it's like, that's what I'm going to go into here. The process begins if you're um, getting out of touch with consensual reality, so seeing things or hearing things nobody else is, or if you're super depressed or really, really anxious, or if you're any kind of tsunami emotional state that you don't want to be, there are free mental health crisis centers, tons of them all around the United States. If you call 988 on your phone, they'll tell you where the one closest to you is. And what you do is go there, expect to take a long time because it takes a long time. And they have a licensed clinician who will talk to you for a while and find out what's going on, why you're feeling how you're feeling, and what that is exactly, what your symptoms are. And um, then they recommend whether they think that you should go to the hospital, or there are 3 levels of care, which I never knew. This is new to me. It's been very useful. The one we're all familiar with is just straight hospitalization on a locked psych ward. Nobody really wants you to do that because it costs a lot to the insurance. Um, and so they only put you there if you're considered a danger to yourself or others, and that can be through 2 things: either intentional, so if your suicidality is not just ideation, so you're not just thinking about suicide, you're not just thinking, boy, it'd be nice if I didn't wake up, and you're not just thinking about how you would do it. You have to be thinking about suicide and thinking about how you would do it, and have direct plans to do it, and then have an intention to actually do it with means. So you really have to be like right at the end of it in order for them to let you in the hospital most time, or put you in a locked ward. Definitely in order to put you on a 72-hour hold, which is an involuntary stay. And I've done that one bunches of times. So you go to crisis, and then there are 3 kinds: hospitalization, and then crisis stabilization unit. And there's only 3 of them in Colorado, but it's an unlocked psych ward. So that's really nice because you can leave at any point that you want to, and they're absolutely free, which is totally insane. They're funded um, on grants with the purpose of minimizing the number of people who have to go to inpatient, who have to be on locked psych wards. So that's another thing that you can do. You can only stay there for 5 or 6 days. That's they cap it. They kick you out no matter how sick you are. So that kind of sucks. But if you're worried about getting locked up, they're a great solution. And you don't have to be that horribly sick to go to one either. You just need to, you can't have intent or means to kill yourself. You can be thinking about it and like even have how you would do it figured out, but you can't actually have the intention, or else they consider that an immediate threat to yourself and they'll lock you up for it. The third option is respite, and respite is one down from um, a crisis stabilization unit. And I don't know how many states it's available in, but it's basically just a house that you can leave in during the day, and you go there and are away from your whole world. So now let's say, well, I'll just tell you what my most recent experience was. I couldn't stop thinking about blowing my head off. I had a really bad trauma anniversary that I can never not celebrate, recognize, and it was super duper intense. And I was having involuntary switching um, DID stuff happen, and I was having all this really bad suicidal ideation. And I was really uncomfortable, and my psychiatrist said, please go to crisis. And so I went to crisis, and crisis said, okay, we'll send you to a crisis stabilization unit. And it took them 6 hours to say that. They take a long time. There's a lot they have to do. And so I went to the crisis stabilization unit, which was this like hotel looking building with security, and went in, and they were really sweet to me. They're not super well funded, and so of all the places that I've been hospitalized, the coffee was probably the worst. That is one thing that I would think about if you're considering getting hospitalized. I know this sounds weird, but if you can get into a hospital in a city with a good tax base, you might be a lot more comfortable. The nicest one I've ever been in is in Boulder, Colorado, and I've been hospitalized 12 times now in 6 different facilities, in 7 different ones in Colorado, and the other 5 in other states. And the, there's one thing that's really cool every single time I've gotten hospitalized. You walk in there, you meet everybody, and well, after you finally get through the whole processing thing, there's no point, like, there's this big weight lifted off my shoulders because, like, my peer group are crazy people in a mental hospital, and that's where I belong. So why the fuck act anymore? Like, you don't need to smile if you don't feel like smiling. You don't need to make small talk. You don't need to make eye contact. You don't need, like, you don't need to brush your hair or wear real clothing. Like, you can just stop functioning. And that's really a lot of the point. They have groups that you go to a couple of times a day, and usually they have one in the morning and the night, a goals group where you just say what your name is and what you hope to accomplish that day. And it's stuff like, I want to attend groups instead of sleeping in my bed the whole time or something. And, or I want to work with the social worker to figure out housing for when I get out. That's another thing. They have a lot of other resources that you can have access to when you're hospitalized usually. And then they'll have groups on skills like emotion regulation, interpersonal effectiveness, mindfulness, self-compassion. They give you your medication. It doesn't just sit there the whole time. If you bring your medication with you, they take that and then they distribute it to you. And then it's just you and the other folk. And like, they will usually have some kind of crafts that you can do. You usually can't have pencils and stuff in your room. You can't have any strings of any sort. Like, if you have strings in your if you have a drawstring in your shorts or your pants, they won't let you have that article of clothing. Or this has the string taken out of it, so I could use it. And then you stay in that environment for however many days. They don't want to keep you, like, really. Don't worry about them locking you up and not letting you out, because that's super rare. I know one person who had an experience where he wanted out and couldn't get out. But I know lots of people who had to leave. And sometimes you're ready to leave, sometimes you're not, but then they run out of a reason to keep you, in their opinion, and you deal with the world again.